Hey, TCC family. Coach Tyler here, and today is a special treat. Some of you might recognize this fellow next to me. His name is Eric Hauck, and he is my brother. And so I brought him on today because I just wanted to do a quick interview of a somebody who grew up swimming. Swimming was a big part of his life. TCC was a big part of his life, and just show kind of what impact that's had on his life and who he is and what he's doing today. So Eric, thank you for joining us today.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And again, real quick before we go into the interview portion, I just kind of want to give a little background as to what Eric's doing currently. So Eric lives up in Waterford, California, up in Northern California with his wife, Kim. And so he has a bachelor's degree, Bachelor's of Science in Entomology, which is the study of insects. And Eric, if I get anything wrong, please correct me. But he also has a master's degree in medical entomology. He's published a paper on genetically engineered mosquitoes and having them not vector the malaria parasite as efficiently. That was a really cool project that he was working on. He's also he has been working on science curriculum based on real life science. And most recently, he's been working very closely with the California Department of Education to create the new science standards for ages K through 12.
Yeah. And they were already created. I'm just helping them to roll them out.
Thank you. So yes, to roll out the new standards and the test, right?
Mm-hmm. The California Science Test, or CAST.
Beautiful. So that's what he's doing now. But again, we're gonna touch a little bit on the swimming portion of his life. So, Eric, when did you start swimming?
I started swimming when I was about 13. So seventh, seventh and eighth grade. Yeah.
And so you started a little bit later than some of the people that you swam with. And so what challenges did you face having started after some of the other athletes that you were training with?
Well, a big one was the endurance. Swimming, as you know, and a lot of your swimmers know, it takes a lot of endurance, and you need to build that up year after year. And so when I first started swimming, I could barely get through a 200-yard freestyle. Stopped halfway through on my first race. So that was huge for me. Was just get building up that endurance.
Awesome. And what attracted you to the sport of swimming?
Well, a couple of different things. One of which is a little silly. So I sweat a lot, and so just being in the pool was nice. And so uh, you know that was one piece of it. But also, whenever I was playing sports, I tended to get very distracted. So when I was playing soccer, I would often be caught chasing the butterflies instead of actually playing the sport. And so swimming kind of provided me that structure that I needed to kind of maintain my focus and really get into a groove and, sometimes turn my mind off because my mind oftentimes would wander when I was playing other sports.
Awesome. And what when did you realize that swimming was your sport? That's what you wanted to do?
Yeah, it was probably when John Reese, Coach John, um, asked me to start coming to Saturday morning practices. That really highlighted for me, my potential in the sport, that someone was taking notice, and that I got to really put put an extra foot forward, going from maybe 3 times a week to now it's swimming 6 times a week.
So pretty much you got a sense of accomplishment when that happened.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of times I felt most accomplished during practices, or whenever I was working with John, or some of the other coaches that I had been with and my swimming colleagues.
Beautiful. And what what is your favorite memory of swimming, and what's your favorite memory of just of TCC?
I would probably say it was John's talks. To be honest, like there's a lot that I loved about TCC and swimming, but those really heartfelt talks that John would have on the side of the pool deck. He'd bring us all down on a Saturday morning to the other end of the pool, and we just talk about life and how the work that we put in the pool will translate to the work that we put in our own lives. And yeah, those always resonated with me. I took those very seriously, and I appreciated the time it took to do something like that. It's easy to, whether you're a teacher or a coach, I feel like it's easy to get kind of in the groove of, yeah, I have a job to do. I need to teach this, or I need to coach this. And to take a step back or outside of that structure and enhance other skills. That meant a lot to me, and I carry that with me into my teaching.
So you learn more in swimming than just swimming.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Cool. Very cool. Who have been some of your role models in the swimming world?
So I growing up, at TCC, specifically, I'd say Winter Hauck was one of my most influential uh, swimming friends who, really, uh, I watched him. I watched how he interacted with people. I watched how he swam. I watched his work ethic, and he gave me someone to look up to and admire. And he was he he sometimes would drink a 2-liter bottle of soda right before his race and go kick butt. And I respected him for pretty much everything that he did.
Awesome. Uh, and what lessons have you learned from swimming, and how have they shaped the person that you are today?
I mean, as perhaps cliched as this sounds, it's the work ethic. It's the idea that if you put in the time, if you keep going, if you have goals, and you just keep incrementally getting better, even if sometimes you might take a step back, but reflect and then try again next time. Those lessons stuck with me, and it's why I've continually tried to push the bounds of my teaching, my professional life, is trying to get as much information as possible to be the best teacher I can, to be the best mentor I can. And yeah, I learned that all from swimming.
Awesome. To give your best effort each and every day.
Yeah, and be okay when things don't go your way. I mean, we've all been there where we get to the meet, we think we're going to kick butt because we've put in all the work and practice, and it just doesn't materialize. It's just not there. And those moments are oftentimes the ones that I look at, and think, oh, I made it through that, so I'll make it through this too.
Yeah, that's powerful. And who did you turn to in those moments when you put in that work and you showed up to a meet and it didn't happen how you wanted it to? Who did you turn to for guidance and for just getting through it?
Well, the post race John check-in was always I enjoyed it. Like John knew that I was hard on myself, and so he actually would adapt his coaching style to fit, just how, rough on me I was. And so, he would oftentimes offer me, the constructive criticism of like, hey, you could have, breathed less, or, really got your elbows up on your freestyle. He would offer that technical assistance, but then he would also kind of dive into the emotional state and say, hey, you're one of the best, or you're very good at your practices, but it just is not coming out in your races, in the meet. So let's keep working on it, or here's how we're going to do it when we get back into the pool. So that was huge for me.
And did your teammates help you through those moments?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, like I brought up Winter, but I could name a bunch of people: David, Dean. No, they all really provide, and Courtney, Coach Courtney too. Whenever I was stuck, or whenever I needed an extra push, they were there to challenge me in practice. Or, you know, I remember distinctly, Winter and we would always wear our drag suits and just try to hammer out as fast 500s as we could, or, we, so that, knowing that I had that when I got back to practice, people to really push me, that was huge too.
Would you have swam as long as you did if you didn't have friends on the team?
No way. I mean, that was the most important part. Is, like I mentioned, the talks John gave really resonated with me. But I mean, same goes with the friends that I had on the team. Those relationships allowed me to grow in ways that were going to prepare me for the rest of my life. So you might, like, I don't always talk to those people, but they're oftentimes in my mind. I think about them. So yeah, the friendships that you make in swimming will be a forever stamp on you.
That's awesome. And how far did you make it in swimming? To what level did you achieve?
I'd probably say the highest invitational meet I got to was the North American Challenge Cup, where it's Mexico versus the United States versus Canada, and yeah, that was really cool. And then also CIS, that year we had or my junior year, we had a dynamite team at Claremont High, with Dean Holcomb, David Chen, David Hine, myself. So those swimming with those guys on relays and stuff like that was really great. So I really always enjoyed CIF.
And so looking back at your swimming career, what's the biggest takeaway?
I'd probably say that even though not everyone is going to continue swimming the rest of their life competitively, the reality is that, a majority of us either stop after high school or we stop after college. No matter what happens in your swimming career or when you decide to stop, it will stick with you for the rest of your life. It serves that role at that time, and it's really important to take every minute and really value that time, and because it will shape you the rest of your life. So paying attention to why it's shaping you or how it's shaping you is very important.
Wow, that's powerful. And so, it kind of on that same page, what advice would you have for either young swimmers coming up through the age group program or new master swimmers who are brand new to swimming? Kind of for those beginner swimmers, what advice do you have for them?
I'd say it's the common theme throughout this whole interview, to persist, to keep trying. Again, I know it's kind of like a platitude or something like that, but that to me has been the most important thing in swimming, is just to show up, to be present. That you cannot put a price tag or anything like that on what it means just to show up.
And not just physically, not just have your body be there.
Right. Yep. Exactly. And like I said in the last, comment, was like, you need to be in the moment and really understand what's happening and why it's so important for the rest of your life, and take those lessons as they come. So yeah, that it also includes showing up mentally as well.
Awesome. Well, Eric, I want to thank you for your time. Um,
Of course.
you know, having some insight from somebody who grew up swimming has been extremely helpful. Hopefully, some of our viewers will um, find value in this interview. And I will be right back just to close out. One moment.
Love you, buddy. Love you too, man. All right, guys. Take care. All right. Bye.